Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring the incredible life of Nyak Dhien. We're talking about a historical figure whose enduring courage is frankly unmatched. She's one of Indonesia's absolute greatest national heroes, and her life story reads like this wild epic tale of tactical brilliance, profound devotion, and just unbreakable resilience in the face of Dutch colonialism. Seriously, if you want to understand what true leadership looks like when literally everything is on the line, you are in the exact right place. But before we get into the historical facts, I want you to ask yourself a pretty provocative question. What would it actually take for you to surrender? I mean, really surrender. Because the leader we're looking at today faced escalating, virtually impossible odds, and she never gave up. We're talking about the complete destruction of her home, the death of the people she loved most, severe physical deterioration, and starvation. Yet her enduring courage just kept her moving forward. So keep that question in the back of your mind as we trace her remarkable journey. To really grasp where all this courage comes from, we gotta look at her roots. Nyak Dhien was born in 1848 in Lampedong. She grew up in the Sultanate of Aceh, which was known at the time as the Serambi Mecca, or the Veranda of Mecca. This was a deeply devout Islamic society. It had a rich history of trade, diplomacy, and it was fiercely proud of its independence. She was born into this peaceful, aristocratic family and received a deep education in Islamic religious studies and traditional Acehnese values. Her faith and her absolute love for her homeland were basically woven into her DNA from day one. Well, that peaceful life didn't last. In 1873, everything shattered. That was the year the Dutch Empire launched an invasion, triggering the bloody Aceh War. At the time, Nyak Dhien was married to a prominent young warrior and aristocrat named Teuku Ibrahim Lamga. This massive invasion forced them completely out of their peaceful existence and thrust them directly into a brutal, all-out conflict against a massive colonial power. And war, as it always does, quickly brought devastating personal tragedy. In 1878, her husband was killed in battle while defending their territory against Dutch troops. This introduces a really vital concept to understand her story: shaheed, or martyrdom. It means falling in battle in defense of Islam and the homeland. For Nyak Dhien, her husband's death as a martyr became the ultimate catalyst for the rest of her life. It didn't break her, it fundamentally transformed her. So how do you respond to that kind of profound loss? She channeled that crushing grief into pure, fierce determination. She made a sacred vow to destroy the Dutch invaders and carry on the fight for Aceh's freedom. Shortly after, she actually received a marriage proposal from another brilliant resistance leader, Teuku Umar. But get this, she only accepted on one extraordinary condition. He had to agree to let her fight right alongside him on the battlefield. Section 2. The ultimate tactical deception. Together, Nyak Dhien and Teuku Umar became an absolute nightmare for the Dutch military. They pulled off this brilliant ruse in 1893. Basically, Teuku Umar faked a surrender to the Dutch. From the Dutch perspective, they thought they had won. They thought they had secured a loyal native commander, so they gave him weapons, ammunition, and command of Dutch-trained native troops. But the reality for the Aceh resistance was completely different. The couple was secretly using this insider position to gather heavy weaponry, vital ammunition, and crucial tactical intel. Then came the turnaround. Once they had siphoned off enough military hardware and learned all the Dutch secrets they could, the dynamic pair abandoned the post. And they definitely didn't leave empty-handed. They took all that heavy weaponry and hundreds of rifles straight back into the jungle to supply the resistance. This massive deception completely infuriated the Dutch high command. I mean, they were livid, and it triggered an all-out, furious manhunt for the couple. Section 3. Leading from the jungle. This manhunt pushed them deeper and deeper into the unforgiving rainforest, and tragedy struck again. In 1899, Teuku Umar was killed in a surprise Dutch ambush. Now, her reaction to losing her second husband is just legendary. When their young daughter wept over her father's death, Nyak Dhien famously scolded her, saying, "Acehnese women do not shed tears for martyrs who fall in defense of Islam and their homeland." Instead of surrendering to grief or to the Dutch, she immediately stepped up and took sole command of the guerrilla forces. Just imagine trying to lead an army from deep inside a dense rainforest. We're talking years of this. The physical toll was absolutely immense. She suffered from debilitating arthritis. She developed cataracts that left her nearly completely blind. Her troops were starving, they were incredibly low on supplies, and their ammunition was severely depleted. Yet, guided by her remaining loyal fighters through these rugged jungle trails, her enduring courage never faltered. She point-blank refused to surrender. Fast forward to the year of 1901, and the situation is utterly dire.
Pause and think about that date for a second. The invasion was in 1873. That is decades of relentless war and loss. Decades living in the jungle. And now she's frail, sick, and nearly blind. Yet despite being physically broken, her resolve and her spirit remained completely 100% unbroken.
Section 4. Betrayal and Final Exile. The end of her military campaign actually didn't come from a surrender at all. It came from a betrayal by one of her most trusted commanders, Pang Laut. But you have to understand, this betrayal was born out of pity, not malice. Pang Laut was just deeply pained by seeing his leader suffer so severely in the jungle. Out of sheer desperation for her to finally get medical treatment, he secretly contacted the Dutch. He revealed her hidden location, but he bargained with them first, demanding that she be treated with the absolute respect she deserved. So, when heavily armed Dutch forces finally raid her hidden camp, does she give up? No way. In her final stand, this frail, nearly blind woman drew her traditional orenchang dagger. She fiercely fought back against the invading soldiers until she was physically overpowered and subdued. That right there is the very definition of enduring courage, fighting for your homeland and your faith until your very last ounce of physical strength is gone. When you map all of this out on a timeline, it really puts the scale of her resilience into perspective. The Aceh War begins in 1873. First husband killed in 1878, the brilliant tactical ruse in 1893, second husband killed in 1899, and finally the betrayal and capture in 1901. Literally, any single one of these brutal milestones would be enough to break a normal person. But for Nyak Dhien, each tragedy only deepened her resolve. It highlights a level of courage that's almost hard for us to even comprehend today. Section 5. An Unbroken Legacy. The Dutch finally had her in custody, but they were literally terrified her mere presence would spark another rebellion, so they exiled her far away to Sumedang, West Java. In exile, you might think she just gave up and faded away, right? Not a chance. She spent her final years doing what she loved most from her early life, teaching Islam. To the local villagers who had no idea who she really was, she was simply known as Ibu Prabu, or the Noble Mother. She taught Quranic recitation and religious studies. Her heroic identity as the queen of the Aceh resistance was brilliantly concealed until long after her death in 1908. She lived out her final days passing on the exact same faith that fueled her lifetime of resistance. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final thought. If Nyak Dhien could endure the loss of her family, the physical devastation of the jungle, blindness, betrayal, and exile without ever breaking her spirit, what challenges can you overcome today? Take a moment to reflect on her incredible legacy of leadership and devotion. She proved for all of history that true leadership knows no gender, and she showed us exactly what true enduring courage looks like.